We so rarely see people of differing points of view on the same screen. We so rarely seem to interact with them online. We so rarely encounter someone who holds a different opinion of our own. But that happened last night on Gutfeld. Last night, Greg Gutfeld, to his great credit, had, to his great credit, on Bill Maher. Bill Maher has a new book out, and he has been saying things on Real Time and Club Random that appeal to those who, I would say 80% of the rest of the time, disagree with Bill Maher. And I actually found that one of the most interesting parts of their exchange. In the beginning, it's like, see, we have, disagreements. See, we can appear together. But Maher said, yeah, that's all true. But the goal isn't to pretend that it's all kumbaya. The goal isn't to pretend that we don't have disagreements. I actually really liked this part of what was said on Gutfeld by Bill Maher.
So far, so fun?
I have a few quibs.
Okay, go for it. Quib away, Mr. Quib.
Well, I mean, I agree that it's great that we're talking. I agree that we agree on some things. We're not exactly aligned on the most important things, which is basically Trump is someone who does not concede elections. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
You don't seem to see it that way. That's the most important thing that's going on in this country. He didn't concede the last election. He's not going to concede this election.
You don't know that. You don't see into the future, Bill. I don't see your crystal ball.
Yeah, I did, because I was the only one who was talking about that way back when, and everybody said, oh, you smoke too much pot. Turned out I smoked just the right amount of pot.
There's no right amount.
Well, so let's address two parts of that. I mean, I disagree with Bill Maher, and for that matter, much of the left on the thing he can't get over, which is about Donald Trump, that he believes he is a dictator in waiting, that he is a tyrant, that he doesn't concede elections functionally, not just rhetorically. Now, after the 2020 election, Donald Trump definitely fought tooth and nail every stretch of the way, and ultimately walked out of the White House, ultimately if not rhetorically, functionally conceded an election. I don't think Donald Trump is a waiting authoritarian. I think that he is going to, as a personality, very rarely ever admit defeat and fight in every mechanism that he can to retain victory. But Maher believes he remains a quote-unquote existential threat to democracy. Now, what I like about what Maher had to say is we can be friends. We can interact with those that disagree with us. Why? Well, in part because it's possible that on 80% of other things in our life, maybe our faith, maybe sports, maybe raising our children, we have way more in common. And even on some substantive points of view, for example, with Maher and Gutfeld, perhaps on free speech, or any other host of issues, because Maher also, for example, defended Harrison Butker, a conversation we just had with Suzanne Vanker. But we can also not pretend some level of kumbaya. We don't have to find some level of moderation, some in-between. Righteousness in life doesn't always exist in the middle between two disagreements. But that doesn't preclude us from literally appearing upon the same screen or interacting on the sidelines of a soccer game. And I think that's what we can and do more, is understand that as human beings, we're way more than the way that we vote. And here's an example of Bill Maher acknowledging, I think, a reality and finding some level of agreement with Gutfeld when it comes to Joe Biden.
I mean, look, he's almost the same age as Biden, but Biden presents as old, ancient. Yeah. That does not look old.
No, it doesn't.
He does not present as old. Yeah. I mean, he's like Kiss. He puts on the wig and the face paint, and it's 1976 all over again.
Talking about Trump, and they talked about his growing stand-up act at rallies where he talked about the bad contractors that put the stage together, or Biden Tic Tacs, tiny little box of Tic Tacs. And he's comparing Trump there to the obvious physical, and I say physical to include the mind, failings of the current sitting president. Even though they're almost the same age, they're not in the same ballpark in terms of functional capability, of senility,